Hi, guys. It is Miss LaShanta here, and thank you all so much for listening to my podcast. This episode is brought to you by Life Size Barbie Hair, which is a company that specializes in delivering quality virgin hair extensions. So if you guys are like me and love to keep your hair intact, make sure to visit lifesizeBarbieHair.com and check them out. So if you guys don't know, I'm a huge Tupac fan, and today we'll be actually talking to Dominic Santana, who is playing Suge Knight in the upcoming Tupac biopic. I am so excited. Let's go ahead and get into it. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. As you can imagine, things are pretty crazy right now. So just dealing with that stuff. But other than that, I'm doing really well.
That is amazing. I'm so excited to speak with you. And, of course, I have tons of questions in regards to your acting career and, of course, upcoming movie, the Tupac biopic. But I understand you're a businessman. Could you please explain to me and tell me what kind of businesses do you own?
Well, I've owned multiple different businesses. I started out with nightclubs. And at one point in my life, I sold cars for a little bit back in the early 2000s with a friend of mine. And so naturally, we decided to open a third-party auto finance company.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of fill in a gap that, was needed. One thing we noticed in the area we were in, a lot of people who, they didn't have great credit, or a lot of minorities didn't have access to knowledge or information on how to obtain a loan, facing obstacles. So then we created that, which eventually led to opening a dealership. And so we got a third-party finance company, auto wholesale, and a auto dealership.
That is really nice. And in your opinion, what kind of work ethic does one need to run a successful business?
Well, I'll say when we started the third-party auto finance company, that took us we were working pretty much 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and anywhere from 8 to 13-hour days, and hoping to make money. So the first part we weren't making anything, but we still had to do the work. It was just the two of us working on it first, and we had to get it to a place to where, it was profitable enough to bring on staff members. And we just piece by piece, added more computers, more space, and more employees until we could then step out of doing every role and let the staff handle it and oversee the business.
Okay.
So it takes a lot of work ethic.
Hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Now I want to jump into your acting career. Now, you're not new at acting.
Right.
How did you get into acting, and when did you realize, okay, I want to take this serious, I want to be on television? What age, and do you remember even where you were?
Yeah, I actually, I always had an interest in film. My mother she was a huge film buff when we were growing up, and there were times where we didn't have a lot of money and stuff to go do a bunch of extra things. But one thing my mom always made sure to do was have some movies on deck and have movie nights and dinners and stuff like that. So I was always interested in, what I saw on the screen and how I could get on the screen. I didn't really start taking it serious till about, I got about to high school, and then I had started taking in my sophomore year, I want to say. I started taking theater arts class, which initially was just supposed to be an easy class and get an easy A and meet some girls. and kind of a little explore my interest in acting. And then, but I was fortunate I had a teacher named Vivian Wade, and long story short on that, she just really kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities of actually, being a part of that business. And then after high school, I left there and I eventually moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, which when I got there, I discovered had a booming film community. And Screen Gym Studios there, and just a lot of people even though Wilmington is a small beach town, it was a lot of movies being filmed there. So, you know, a lot of major companies and always some movie stars somewhere coming in and out of town. And so there's where I, you know, once I realized, oh, there's a film community, you can actually, you know, start doing some stuff in the film business. So I started pursuing it there. And I had a real good friend of mine back then was working on a movie called, 20 Funerals, with a company out of Wilmington. They're in Atlanta now, but it's called Swirl Films. And it was their first movie, and it was a real little cheap, you know, nothing movie, but it was fun. And but my friend Micah Noble, we call him Checker, he was working on that film during the casting, and he called me up, and he was like, "Hey man," he was like, I'm down here working on this casting, and they need a big dude that can act. You know, where you at? Can you get here in 20 minutes and to Screen Gym? So I was like, well, yeah. And so I ran down there to Screen Gems, auditioned for the role, got the role, and that was my first movie.
Wow.
And so, yeah, man. So from there, I think that was the time. I didn't even get paid for that, but that was the first time I realized, once I got around, you know, seeing all the cameras and the film crew and all that stuff, even though, like I said, it was a little cheap, low-budget movie, it still had a, you know, bigger film crew than I had ever worked with. And so that was the kind of moment where I was like, hey, wait a minute. You know, this is real business. Like, you know, I could be a part of this somehow. And so then I went on and got an agent, and I think that's when I started taking it serious, about 10 or 12 years ago. Once I started pursuing that agent, and it was like, oh, you can make money. And I did a show called Dawson's Creek back then, and it was filmed in Wilmington. And, you know, once I worked on that, and that was a big, you know, Warner Brothers production. So I think I made like $900 for that day. And I wasn't there as an actor. I was actually there as an extra. And the director of that episode, he just wasn't liking the way the scene was playing out. It was a nightclub scene at the entrance of the nightclub. And he was like, we need another. They only had one bouncer at the door. And so they were like, we need another bouncer, you know, talking to the girls while this is going on, et cetera. And so they just kind of pulled me from the crowd and asked me, could I read the line? And I was like, well, hell yeah. And so they made me like kind of audition right there on the film set, and they liked it. So they're like, cool, you know, let's change his paperwork and get him in wardrobe, et cetera.
Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
I was going to say, I used to love Dawson's Creek. I was so sad when it ended in 2003. I was like so sad.
Yeah, it was a very popular show, and it wasn't something I really watched at the time, so, you know, I didn't really know much about it other than it filmed in Wilmington. And then I discovered how big of a fan base they really had once I, you know, acted in it. And so I made about $900 from that, which to me was like for a day's work, you know, saying one line. I was like, wait a minute, there's real money in this thing, you know. So I think when I got that first check, it was the realization. Before then, it was like really fun, you know, a fun pursuit. But then when I got that check, that first check, it was like, wait a minute, you know, this is real. People are getting paid off of this stuff. You know, so I was like, if I can do enough of it, then I can pay my bills and just focus on this. And so that's when I started really kind of pursuing that. And then I did One Tree Hill after that and other stuff.
That's
pretty
really
much where
amazing.
I got going. It's a long road.
Yeah, long road. How did you hear about the role of Suge Knight, and how did you get involved with the filming of the Tupac biopic, All Eyes on Me?
Well, actually, I didn't hear about it. I didn't know anything about it. I was just, you know, a Tupac fan like everybody else, wondering when the hell we were going to get a Tupac movie. But my agent at the time, Terrence Hurd out of the Hurd Agency, he really had his, you know, ear to the system, and he found out about it, and he's the one who submitted me for it. Because in film, you know, your agent, they get the film companies, they send out, when they go to do the casting, they send out, you know, to the agencies that have somebody that may resemble the type of character they're looking for. So, you know, when he caught that wire, and he submitted me for the role, and, you know, he called me up and said, hey, I just submitted you for the role of Suge Knight in the Tupac biopic. And I was like, there's a Tupac biopic? And so, and then I was like, wait a minute, Suge Knight, because it's somebody, as an actor, one of the greatest things you can do, one of the most challenging things is to play somebody that is living or has lived, somebody real. And so, being my size and look, I didn't really think there was anybody that had a story notable enough that I could play them, so that was kind of one thing I always, kind of dreaded, was never getting that chance. And then, but I never thought of Suge Knight, for some reason, that never crossed my mind. And,
wow.
So when he sent me the information, let me know they wanted me to audition, I was like, oh, this is crazy. I never thought of Suge Knight.
I was getting ready to ask you, how did you prep for this audition?
A lot of YouTube and a lot of reading old articles and just different press things, but a lot of studying his interviews so I can get his mannerisms and his voice and dialect down, and just kind of pick up on how he says certain things or slang he might use, etc. And just went into it. Once I got that all in my head, then I auditioned about 4 times. So I had to do I had to do a video submission first, and then from there they do what's called a callback, and that means you have to come in person. And so from there, I had a lot of travel issues and stuff the day I was supposed to be there, and I ended up being because of 2 delayed flights and mechanical issues, I had an appointment at 1:00 with the casting director, Winsome Sinclair, at WSA, and I ended up not getting there until 7 p.m.
Wow. And she's out of Atlanta, correct?
Yeah, she's out of Atlanta now. I think she was in New York for years, and then she moved her company down to Atlanta. And from there, she liked what she saw. I had missed the director. He had already left. So then they were like, but the director, we like you, but the director still has to see you in person. So then I had to fly down there again and read with the director and producers in the room. And so I did that. And that's, at the time, that was Carl Franklin was on to direct. And then Carl eventually got switched out. And then about 2 weeks after that, I thought, and this is an exclusive for you, honestly, because I never really told anybody. So, but honestly, at that point, after I read and then 2 weeks went by, I figured I didn't get the role, and actually started, kind of stopped thinking about it. And then they call, I thought my agent was calling me to tell me, like, hey, you got it. Because usually how it works in the film business, when you audition for something, if you haven't heard back about it in 1 to 3 weeks, then you can go ahead and assume that you're not in it. They don't call your people and say, hey, we didn't go with him, so you can tell them stop thinking about it. You just, either you see the movie or the show, you see online it's getting filmed, and then oh, okay, I'm not in it. And so I actually thought I didn't get it, and I stopped even thinking about it. And it was just, I was disappointed because, like I said, I'm a lifelong Tupac fan, so it was like, anything I can do to get in this movie, hell, I would have been a waiter in the movie if that's all they gave me, just to be a part of it. And so, but to play, one of the lead roles and play Suge Knight, I was like, that would be huge. And so, I thought I didn't get it, and I just, kind of pushed it to the side and tried to stop thinking about it. And then he called me and was like, hey, I got good news and bad news. The good news is they liked you. The bad news is they changed directors, and you got to go see the new director in person. He wants to see you in person as well. And that was Benny Boom when they brought Boom on. So I was like, damn it, now I got to fly again. Because in the beginning, they don't pay for your flights and stuff to come audition.
Right.
It's like either you get here or you don't. And so, I flew there again, and that was basically my process of getting into the film.
Wow, this role was definitely meant for you. I would say that it was meant for you. What was challenging,
Thank you.
in your opinion? You're welcome. In your opinion, what was challenging to bringing the script to life?
I think the most challenging part was because, like I said earlier, you're playing somebody who's real, So most of the times when you're doing a film, you're playing a character that no one's ever seen or no one's ever seen this particular version. So nobody can really judge it until the movie comes out, and then they can decide whether they like it or not. And but with this project, everyone already knows who Suge Knight is. They know what he looks like. They know how he sounds. So the challenging thing was my goal wasn't to just give the people and the fans a good rendition, but I wanted to go even further, and I wanted people who actually knew Suge or even family of Suge to be like, oh man, he nailed it, or he gets it. And just because I felt like, and no shade against anybody else, but, I'm just going off of things I've heard, that there are other versions of Suge that have been in bits and pieces of films before. A lot of the times the family or the people close to Suge didn't feel like, it was justice done to him. So that was one of my goals. We'll see when it comes out if they feel that way, but that was one of my goals for, I know he's got some children out there that's grown now and family members and stuff, and I want them to look and, feel like at least some kind of semblance to their family or family member or loved one, etc. So that's what I really worked hard to pull across, was not just some caricature of Suge, but to actually try to get in the mind of Suge and, portray that.
And were you able to interact with any of his family or Suge Knight's family to help you prep throughout the filming? I know sometimes, throughout biopics, you can kind of talk to their family or to them personally. Were you able to do that?
No, it was actually talked about getting a conversation with Suge, but as soon as I got hired and we were getting ready to get going is when the judge took away Suge's visitation and communication rights. So he couldn't talk on the phone or get any visitors anymore at that time. And so we kind of missed out on that. And but what I did have was on this film, there are people involved who actually knew him and still know him, and people who were actually there at death row, consulting and making sure stuff is accurate. And so, I was fortunate. I got to sit around, not only talk to these people and ask questions, but I got to sit around and listen to these guys, tell old stories, about things that happened at death row and what it was like. And it wasn't all a bunch of craziness and depressing stuff. It was mostly they would talk about funny stories, or the pranks they used to pull around in death row and how they all used to play and do crazy stuff and have fun. And, there was some craziness, that was mentioned, but overall, I think I was surprised about how many positive stories that these guys, were sitting around talking about. Because even though he had nothing to do with getting Demetrius the role, Demetrius's father actually is a producer who, he produced Toss It Up for Tupac and some other stuff for some other death row artists. So he was around death row as well. And so it's just ironic that, his son ends up playing Tupac in a movie about Tupac, and he actually was at death row at a time and knew those guys.
Wow.
So, it was like, so Meech Sr. and, S-Mac and another real strong benefit was Deshaun, who plays, we call him Eastwood. His nickname is Eastwood, but he plays Trayvon in the movie, and he's in almost every scene with me. And he's part of him and Sean Baker are like my two main death row guys that roll with me everywhere. But Eastwood actually was he was signed to death row post-Pac, right when everything kind of started going downhill. He was one of the new artists along with a few others that was supposed to be like the next wave of death row. And so he ran around with Suge a lot at the time and got to know Suge real close and personal. So the benefit about that was he's with me in almost every scene. So I always had somebody I could turn to and be like, hey, man, if I saw something in the script that I didn't feel was very Suge Knight-ish, I could talk to him and be like, hey, man, does this sound like something Suge would say? You know, he could say, yeah, Suge said it all the time, or nah, man, Suge wouldn't say no shit like that.
Wow.
so, you know, I could ask him, hey, you know, when something crazy would happen, what are some of the things Suge used to say? You know, or how would he usually react in scenarios like this? And so then I could get a first-person account from somebody who hung with Suge on a daily basis to say yay or nay, you know, that is accurate, or nah, it's not. You know, like I said, along with a lot of the other guys, L.T. Hutton, the producer, is another one who he was there. You know, he still knows Suge to this day. So, you know, he was very hands-on. Even though Benny Boone was directing, you know, if L.T. had some notes in between takes, you know, he didn't shy away from coming and letting us have those notes of like, hey, no, this is what was going on, or hey, this is why it has to go this way because this really happened and this is how it went. You know,
wow.
So yeah, so I had a lot of, you know, we weren't just shooting in the dark. It's not like some people, I've seen people make comments like it's just, you know, a bunch of corporate white guys at a movie studio saw straight out of Compton Success, and then they were like, hey, let's do a Pac movie. It's not like that. You know, they've been working on this film for like 10 years. And
wow.
so, yeah. So L.T. Hutton started the ball moving, and he wanted to do it on a major level, not just on TV or, you know, straight to DVD or something like that. So, you know, he did what he had to do, and he pushed until somebody, you know, a real company was like, yes, we'll go all the way with this. And that happened to be Morgan Creek and, you know, some others. And so we just had that benefit of having people who really care involved and people who were really there involved to help keep us on track and on point.
Wow. And I was going to also say, how is it like working with the other cast? And what will the audience be thinking about after they have got done watching this movie? Like when they're driving home in their car, they're like, what will they be thinking about?
On the first part of the question, the cast, we ended up, sometimes when you do a movie, you get lucky, and then sometimes you don't. And what I mean by that is sometimes you get lucky with a great crew and everyone you get along with, and you have fun and a great cast, and you remember these people, you know, for a lifetime. And then sometimes you get on a film crew where you can't wait to get done because either the star is an asshole, or, you know, the crew members are difficult, or whatever, or it's chaos and you're ready to get done. But on this film, you know, we were lucky and blessed to have, I mean, everybody was great. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the film and I want to say good stuff. I'm not really a person to hold my tongue. So I'm not going to bash, you know, if I felt a certain way, I wouldn't bash anybody. I would just not talk about it. So, but on this one I was fortunate, and I could sing the praises of everybody involved because the cast, I mean, we became like a family just because of the way everyone was on point, professional. But when it was time to sit back and laugh and, you know, have just friendly moments and stuff like that, I mean, we bonded, you know. And it might have had to do with the fact that, you know, this movie was special to all of us. Almost everybody, at least that I know of and spoke to, were actual fans of Tupac, or they were diehard fans of Tupac. Black, white, didn't matter. Everybody, I think that kind of surprised me too, because I mean, when you got 50-year-old white guys are like, you know, yeah, I jumped on this because it was about Tupac, you know, and it's like, oh, damn, really? You know, so I think that kind of blew my mind, you know, because it didn't matter age or color or anything. Everybody was pro Tupac. They wanted to make this movie, you know, as big a hit as it could be. And so with all of us collectively pushing for the same goal, I think it just made us real tight. And it's something special for all of us. So, you know, when you do something special to your life with a group of people, it's hard not to bond with those people.
Right.
So we didn't have no drama. We didn't have no, like, difficult cast member that was just starting arguments and fights and all that, you know what I mean? So I was like, wow. You know, I've been on film sets where there was no drama, but I mean, it's really hard to get through a whole film and there's no drama at all. So, wow. You know, at least from my aspect as an actor, I can't speak on behalf of crew members, but from what I saw and everybody I interacted with, I mean, it was always all love, and we had a really good time, you know. So that, I mean, it's like I told them, and I meant it. I'll do a movie with all those same people as many times as can be done. If that happens. You know.
That's amazing. I'm glad that everything like ran smoothly. That probably makes you like feel better on set too. Like nobody wants drama. Nobody wants that.
Right. I'll say it like this: if there were any complications, the producers did a hell of a job keeping it away from us because, I didn't see it. Any complications or things. Of course, you're going to run into obstacles on any film. As far as the logistics of the film, but any drama and stuff like that, didn't really happen. And so, and the other part of your question, what will people take away? That's really hard to specifically answer because, it's about Tupac. And if you know anything about Tupac, Tupac was always on the go. He was always doing something, whether it be, at an event, being an activist, or at an event, partying or making music or, just whatever. So, this dude's life, even as short as it was a roller coaster. And
wow.
So to capture all of that on film is hard enough. And then to, specifically lay down, one or two things about Pac is hard enough. I think overall, if you love Tupac, I think this will make you love Tupac even more.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So I think the fans of Pac will be even bigger fans. And I think people who might not know of Pac or know that much about Pac, I think they will become fans of Pac after that. And just that, and as far as how Pac cared about his people, as far as African Americans and the state of African Americans at that time. And I think some of the issues covered in the film involving Pac will make people really step back and say, wow, that was 20 years ago, and we're still having to have the same discussions about some of the same stuff even 20 years later. And so I think, it speaks to a lot of things that's going on right now, like, police injustice and, unarmed killing of black men and women and mistreatments and, just things about social issues that are still happening in our country. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people will notice and take with them is that, wow, it is a problem. You can sit around all day long and say, it's not really a problem. It's made up. It's not. But then when you look at something portraying real events that you can look up from 20 years ago and you're still talking about it today, 20 years later, I think that'll really resonate with people like, wait, hold up, man. This is crazy that we're still having to talk about this stuff.
Right.
So I think those are the two biggest things. I think, fall in love with Pac more, and I think realizing that there's still social issues that we're still having to deal with 20 years later. That hasn't changed and ain't even showing signs of changing. I think that'll get the dialogue going.
Now, who are some like major influences so far that have pushed you as an actor?
As far as like family and stuff, or just other people out there that motivate me?
Either or.
Family-wise, I'd say my mother. My mother, Tracy, she's always been, I've had a lot of believers around me in my life, and the type of work that I'm in, it's really hard for the average person to wrap their head around that you can really get in it and be successful. And I understand that because the film business is looked at like this mythological thing. And so when you see somebody in it, it's like, and especially, through the whole process, you have some good times and you have some times where people, even the ones that believe in you, are like, I don't know, man. you might want to start trying for something else. As you get older, you're going to need stability and stuff. You might want to start building another career that'll work for you, And so you have a lot of that naysaying. Some of it's hate and some of it is just people caring about you and feeling like, hey, we don't want you to waste your time. And you get old and haven't accomplished anything. And but my mother all the way through it, since a kid, has always trained us to, go for our dreams and what we truly believe in, to go for it and don't let anything throw us off. So, and she carried that all the way through, even into adulthood. No matter what I was doing, even with owning the businesses, she was proud to see me, not want to work for anybody and start my own companies, and proud to see me doing the little bit of film and stuff I was doing in the beginning. But no matter what I was doing, she was always like, that's great. The company's going good. That's great. You did this. That's great. But what about the film? What about your film career? Are you still pushing that? Are you still doing this? Still doing, you know what I mean? It's always on about making sure I stay to what my dream is. And
that's amazing.
So there were a lot of times where I needed that, where she, you know, at some point she became the only one that was still like, yeah, just keep pushing up, keep pushing, you know. So she's definitely been a major force in my whole life about, you know, going toward my dream. And then, you know, seeing the success of other people. Of course, I'm a huge Denzel fan. I think he's one of the best to ever do it, and probably the best in the game.
Of course.
And, yeah. So I spend a lot of time studying Denzel, you know. So when I watch a Denzel movie, I'm a student. I'm not just a fan just watching to be entertained. And then Will Smith, you know, I really admire Will Smith. I watched Will Smith go from the rapper with the hat to the side, you know, singing Parents Just Don't Understand, to one of the most bankable actors in the world. You know what I mean? Now that's, you know, and if you know anything, it's real weird. If you know anything about Hollywood and the history of Hollywood, and not to say, you know, because I'm a heterosexual man, but, you know, I also know when, you know, people are handsome. And so for you to be a light-skinned, handsome man in Hollywood for a long time, especially throughout the 90s, it was like light-skinned dudes were like, you know, you can sing R&B, but you ain't going to be no movie star, not over here. And it was just kind of this weird thing, like, you know, either you had to be real dark-skinned, and then you might have a chance, like Wesley Snipes and some others. But when it came to light-skinned men being leading men, it was not happening. And so for Will to penetrate that market and to be as successful as he has been from the 90s all the way up until now, you know, it's actually more remarkable than people realize, because he wasn't supposed to happen. You know what I mean? And then him being a rapper singing goofy songs like this, none of this was supposed to happen, and he made it happen. And so him, and then like The Rock, because I'm a big dude, I'm 6'5", and in the film world, you know, people don't realize a lot of their favorite stars are midgets. I'm being funny, you know, not all of them are that short, but the majority of them, you know, of actors are, you know, people who didn't go towards sports and other stuff. They knew they could, you know, do film and theater arts. And so you have a lot of short and small, tiny actors who they make them look bigger on film. But when you put them next to an actual big man on camera.
I've noticed that on TV and also in person. I have noticed that too.
Oh, yeah. They put the camera real close up on them, so they look like they're, you know, 6'1" and, you know, 212 pounds, but you see them in person, you realize they're 5'3" and, you know, 102 pounds. And so, you know, so that was a challenge, you know, as far as, I'm not really one of those guys, like, you know, and I'm not being arrogant or anything, but I'm not one of those guys that was like big and ugly or rough looking. So I was never really their guy of choice for roles where, because, you know, especially in the last 10, 20 years, anytime you saw a big man, they were either some, you know, big crazy dude or some big dummy or lackey. You know, it was never really any leading roles, and very rare. And then you started seeing people like Michael Clark Duncan and I forget his name's a white guy, Tim something, I can't remember. He was in Nothing to Lose with Martin Lawrence, and I think he's like 6'6", you know, and others kind of start to pop up, you know, and fight their way into getting some of these lead roles, even though their counterparts were short as hell. And then you had The Rock, who really came through and crushed the building.
I think you're talking about what's his name? Tim Robbins, I think. Tim Robbins.
Yeah, Tim Robbins. Yeah, Tim Robbins. Yeah, he's really tall. And then, you know, some others, and like I said, The Rock really came through and kind of bust that door open, and he showed Hollywood, you know, that big men can be blockbuster artists. I mean, blockbuster actors. And so then that kind of made it, you know, to where it's like Hollywood kind of started to ease up on, you know, just focusing on really short actors and stuff. And so The Rock is also somebody, you know, that is an idol to me, just because of how he carries himself and his attitude toward the public and toward his career. And just super humble guy that is also, you know, big dude. I think he's 6'4", 6'5", And, just seeing what he's accomplished, it was like, I looked and like, if I'd pattern my career after anybody, he definitely would be one of, if I could mix like The Rock's career and Denzel's career, then I'm in there. I'm good. So,
that is really cool. Now, what can we expect next from you? I'm pretty sure you're about to be like super booked if you're not already. How do you, like, what's next for you, and how do you stay motivated with just pursuing your goals and balancing out everything you're doing right now?
Well, first, the next few things I've always been kind of a careful actor as far as the type of roles I choose and whatnot, and that's thanks to Mr. Denzel Washington, who, long ago I seen him, talk about it in an interview of being careful of not to take the decent short money and mess up your long-term money by taking roles that make it hard for you to be cast in other better films, so, and I'm real, don't get me wrong, I'm not like a super activist or a Black Panther, but I do love my people, and I have always had an issue with the way minorities were particularly portrayed, or the types of films that money was put behind for a majority of Black films. And, so when it came with the traditional, typical, stereotypical roles, like playing a big drug dealer or, playing a big, it's like, okay, well, we want you to play this role. You're thug number one, and you robbed this lady. And I'm like, what does that have to do with the story? Oh, nothing really. And it's like, so why would I play this? Why would I play that role? Like, you're throwing in some stereotypical, racial BS in a movie that has really nothing to do with moving the story. And so a lot of things like that I've turned down, no matter how big the money was or how big the movie was. I would turn down because I didn't want to be typecasted as a thug or drug dealer. I wanted to do serious roles and be taken serious. And so with that, I do a lot to make sure that I'm not typecasted. And especially roles that, because the funny thing is, there's a lot of companies trying to do like West Coast projects now about death row or about rappers and whatnot coming out of the West Coast at that time. And so, of course, anything that involves Suge Knight now, they call my people trying to get me involved in it. And so I've been turning down that stuff because I don't want to I'm not actually Suge Knight, so I'm not one of those actors who's walking around still bald-headed with a beard and living my life as somebody that I'm not. I'm me. So, I want that to come out, not just me basically playing Suge Knight over and over and over, even though the name changed. I'm still playing Suge Knight, basically. So I didn't want to do that. So I've turned down those roles, except one. This is another exclusive. So, I can't really divulge it or get into details about it, but I am planning to play Suge one more time. Whether that happens or not, we'll see as we get into the fall. But so far, there's another film project where I'll be doing that once more, and then I'll be done with that. And then I'll, I'm focused on doing like some complete opposite. I usually like to, if I play a particular role, I like to go the opposite direction so that people can see my range. And so I do have, I'm also a producer and a writer. And so I had one movie come out that I wrote last year called Mr. Right. And so that opened some doors. And so I'm focused more now on writing and producing my own projects with my team. And
wow, that is really awesome.
Yeah, so we're doing that. I have a TV show I created that we're working on trying to get a deal with Netflix that I would also, star in the leading role. And it's called The UC. And then another show that I'm just producing on called The Protege with my producing partner, Jason Beach, and he created the show. I can't tell too much about that because it's still in the non-disclosure phase. But it's a really excellent show that I think once picked up will continue to go on for years and years, and different versions of it will go on. As well as going to Africa with a company called, with an organization called Zoe Helps, ZOE. And they go to Africa and they teach orphan children in these smaller villages how to be self-sufficient and how to make money create opportunities for themselves in their market so that, they don't have to grow up and become beggars or prostitutes or anything else. They can feed themselves. And then they teach their little friends around them or others how to also do it. And so it's like a chain reaction they create. Mm-hmm. And so can't really divulge too much on that as well. But it's a great organization. We're teaming up. I'm taking a few celebrity friends of mine, and we're going to go to Kenya, Africa, and visit with these children. And in the process, we're also going to film a documentary about it.
That should be really nice.
Oh, yeah. So I'm always trying to find ways to give back. And, I was fortunate. Me and the guy that arranged it, one of the directors, he actually, we were sitting together on a flight. And we just got to talking. And, he told me what he does. And I told him what I do and all that. And so that's how that kind of came together. And so we'll be going over there and doing that. And then I have another movie in August that is about, it's another true story. And so I don't have all the details on it. I just know that it's about two brothers that get two wealthy black men that are brothers that get falsely accused of a murder that they didn't commit. And they get found guilty anyway in a plot by, people in the town's government wanting to take over. I think it was like 138 acres of land they own. So yeah, that's a real crazy story. And but they get vindicated years posthumously. They get vindicated, and that guilty verdict reversed. And so, although they're dead and gone, this happens in like 1913 in South Carolina. And so, even though they're dead and gone, they posthumously get vindicated, and on record currently. So that all just kind of went down. Yeah, so just taking on a bunch of
It's definitely staying busy, and you have a lot of good things coming up. I have one more question for you. Last but not least, what advice would you give to upcoming actors who are being told no? Maybe because, let's just say, they don't look a certain way or they're not a certain size. And what advice would you give those upcoming actors who are, I guess, kind of feeling discouraged to continue to chase their goals in being an actor? And what is your favorite Tupac song?
Okay. Well, the first one is easy. The second question is easy, so I'll answer that. Me Against the World by Tupac is definitely one of my favorites. I have a lot of favorites of Tupac's music because, like I said, I'm a real fan, so, I got most of all his music, if not all his music, and I listen to it on a regular anyway. So a lot of favorite songs, but it's something about Me Against the World, just even how the way it comes on, it changes my whole mood.
Yes, I love it.
And and it just kind of, lifts me back up and gives me that energy, to keep going through the day. So anytime I'm feeling down or anytime, I just want a chill vibe, I throw that Me Against the World on, and then, it re-energizes me. So that's definitely my favorite. As far as advice for actors, the one main thing I'll say is don't go for it if you don't love it, first of all. And that's with anything you do. Go for the things that you love, that you are truly passionate about inside your heart, because you're going to need that passion to get through all the crap that comes with it on the way up. And so this business is not easy. It's not parties and glamour and, millions of dollars like people think it is. That comes, and that, yes, that is a part of it, but that's like 10, 15% of it. All the rest of it is grind and work hard, networking, making sure not to mess up, delivering when you get on a film set, all that. So, first of all, make sure you have a true passion for it. Would you do it for free if you're not going to get paid? Would you still do it? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And if the answer is yes, then that's something you should pursue. If the answer is no, you need to figure out what your true passion is and don't waste your time. As far as rejection is the name of the game. If you got a problem with rejection, then, you don't want to be an actor, because you're going to get 100 no's before you get the first yes. I can't even count how many times I've heard no, or you're too big, or, you know, you're too light, or, you know, we need somebody uglier, or, you know, I've heard it all, you know, and I've been turned down for many roles. If I got every role that I went out for, you know, I would have been a millionaire by, you know, 25. but that's not how it works. You're gonna get way more no's than you'll ever get yeses in your whole career. But the beautiful thing is, when you get those yeses, sometimes they are very lucrative, and sometimes they are not only lucrative, but they really propel your career, you know, way past levels that you were stuck on. So, you know, like, we can use this movie for an example. For me, you know, I've actually done films that were even bigger budgeted, but I had a little role in it, so it didn't really mean much, you know, and I've done way smaller roles. And so getting this particular yes was huge for me, because I already knew the impact this movie would have before we even filmed it, because of the subject matter. And so, you know, this is my first time being in theaters as one of the co-stars of a film, you know, a major Hollywood film. And so, you know, of course, it's obvious, even though I've been in the business for years now I get the mainstream, you know, worldwide attention to the type of work that I bring to a project. You know, so I'll get to be judged on that. So that's the pressure side, is because now the whole world is going to judge your performance. And fortunately, I feel strongly that, you know, most people will appreciate it. And so, you know, of course, that sends me into a whole nother atmosphere of opportunity and value in my business, you know, my line of work. So it's very important. It's very important to look past those no's, because, you know, one yes may be worth more than all the no's you ever got. So
that is
this
amazing.
No, yeah, you're going to hear no a lot, you know. And I used to do some acting coaching for up and coming actors, and one of the things I used to always say, and this is no offense at all to Forrest Whitaker, but I used to say, miss me with the whole, well, what, you got to look like this, you got to look like that. If Forrest Whitaker can become a movie star, okay, if he can become a bankable movie star, then anybody can.
Anybody can.
He doesn't, and I'm sure he knows all this. He doesn't have the quintessential, you know, Hollywood leading man look. He definitely, you know, he's not big on like staying six-packed out and swollen with muscle and all that. So he's not hired because of his body, you know. So what is it? He's one of the actors you can look at and know that he's solely hired because of his talent.
Right, exactly. Because of his talent of being a great actor that he is, yes. Yeah.
Right. Like, could you imagine the film business without Forrest Whitaker, all of Forrest Whitaker's work? Like, I couldn't. You know, and that's because that's what he brought. Yeah, that's what he brought to the game. It was his talent. He didn't care. Can you imagine, you know, if you're some beautiful, like, let's say you're a beautiful young woman, you know, you're going to have a way easier time in these auditions than someone who looks like Forrest Whitaker. Yet, can you imagine how many times he heard no, or was rejected, or was like, nah, you'll never be a movie star, man? Can you imagine how many times he's heard that? Or how many people laughed when he said, nah, I want to be a movie star? Right. I'm sure a lot of people were laughing like, yeah, okay. You know, but he is because if you look up Forrest Whitaker's story, you know, he got caught up in that phase of, you know, like in the 80s when he got started, you know, getting caught up in that. What only thing that was really offered were these stereotypical black roles, you know, big angry black man and all that. And he had to fight through that phase and be taken serious in the next phase, you know, and he did. So, I mean, it's a lot of fighting. You're going to have to fight because you're going to get, there's millions of other people who want to do what you do.
Right.
So even if you go on like IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, right? It keeps track of all the actors who have credits. You have to have actual film credits to be on something on IMDb, to be searched on IMDb. And even on IMDb, I think there's like 7 million plus members. Now that means there are 7 million actors credited for a film somewhere in this world on IMDb. So if nothing else, you know you at least have 7 million other competitors. Now, that only takes into account people who are already credited for something. That doesn't take into account just the people out there who are growing up and their dream is to be in film and they're just getting started. That will probably raise that number to like 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you're competing against millions and millions of people to get in the same position that, you know, the top level is only 3% of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that means you're competing against millions to get in that 3%. So you better be a fighter and be able to, you know, be able to take some hits because you're going to take them. It's like a rite of passage.
But this is a tough world, so you have to be able to, you know, just stay strong and just know that, you know, sometimes you will be told no, but that no is definitely going to change at some point in your life and going to turn into a yes, and you have to just stay focused. But yeah, I totally agree with everything you were saying, and I am looking forward to seeing the movie. I actually bought my ticket yesterday, so I'm already for it. And I can't wait to see you on the big screen, and I truly appreciate you taking the time out to speak with me. It was really a pleasure.
Not a problem, not a problem. I appreciate you for having me. I'm always appreciative anybody wants to hear my voice.
No problem. We wish you so much success, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, and I hope the same for you.
You guys, please make sure to go see All Eyes on Me in theaters June 16th, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Miss Lashanta.
Didi